Hi. So I'm Annie, and this is Colleen, and today we're going to talk to y'all about food waste. So for as long as I can remember, I've always hated throwing away food. And then a couple months ago, I came across a book called Waste, Uncovering the Global Food Scandal, written by Tristram Stewart. And it really opened my eyes to the magnitude of food waste that occurs across the globe. And then I met Colleen, and she's planning on majoring in diet and nutrition, so we started talking and realized that we both had the ability to raise awareness on such a critical issue. So today we're going to start our presentation off with a question. If more than enough food is produced to feed the world, why do almost 1 billion people go hungry? Here in the United States, most of us have the rare luxury of always having a full pantry, as well as a fully stocked supermarket located close by in case we want more. Our supply of food is so plentiful that an estimated 70 million Americans suffer from obesity, and studies show that up to 68% of all Americans are either obese or overweight. Yet across the world, every 5 seconds, a child dies from malnourishment. And so, in most developing countries, food itself is a luxury and is treated as such, rarely thrown away or wasted. We in the West have become disconnected with what food really is, and because of this, every day, we disregard how big our appetites really are, enhance our portion sizes, and then absent-mindedly throw away our uneaten meals.
1.3 billion pounds of food are wasted each year, and it is estimated that the average American family of 4 wastes 112 pounds of food each month. So instead of eating this food, we throw it away, we let it spoil, or we hoard it for ourselves when others need it more. So let's put this into perspective. Out of the 7 billion people living on Earth, 925 million of them are experiencing hunger. So how do we come to this imbalance where on one side of the world, the lack of food is killing millions of people, whereas on the other side of the world, the excessiveness of food is what's killing us all. We in the world have the ability to feed everyone. So in order to do this, we need to stop throwing away our food to solve the waste problem. Over the next few minutes, Annie and I hope to discuss the causes, effects, and solutions to food waste.
Wasted food raises global consumption levels, and the 1.3 billion pounds of food we waste each year contributes directly to deforestation, global warming, and food shortages. But how and why is all this food being wasted?
The first stages of food waste occur during the farming and harvesting period. Farmers in developing countries have inadequate farming equipment, storage facilities, packaging materials, and transportation. Weather and pesticides also play a role in this food wastage that lets many would-be good crops spoil before they can reach the global market.
When the remaining crops are sold, researchers estimate that up to 12% of good quality food is rejected by supermarkets simply because of visual or structural imperfections. As supermarkets expand, they set standards for the food that is sold on their shelves. Under contract, all food that is delivered by manufacturers must fit the size, shape, and color regulations set forth by the stores. Therefore, every year, farmers are forced to discard millions of tons of perfectly edible food simply because of visual or structural imperfections. Probably one of the most selfish things researchers in affluent countries such as the United States do to contribute to food waste is purposely overstock their shelves in order to depict a look of abundance. Supermarkets believe that customers will come to the store with the most selection, and while this cornucopia method may increase business, more often than not, it results in the throwing away of surplus food that isn't bought. Still, regardless of what retailers do, the waste that occurs at consumer level is the most significant and the most avoidable. In affluent countries such as the United States, buying a surplus of food is something that has become frighteningly routine. When you buy more food than you're going to eat, that food ends up going bad and then having to be discarded. This is most common with fruit, in addition to other produce that has a shorter shelf life, such as bread, meat, and dairy. But buying a surplus of food isn't something new, so why do we do it?
Researchers believe that there are 3 main reasons of why we hoard food. The first is known as the good mother syndrome. This is the idea of buying a surplus of food to ensure that you have enough variety and amount of food to feed and satisfy your entire family. The second is that throughout history, having an abundance or surplus of something projects wealth and status. So having a surplus of food can show others as well as yourself your economic status. The third is evolution has programmed us to hoard food while we can, so in preparation for a natural disaster. However, in an affluent country like ours, a massive food shortage is highly unlikely. Therefore, hoarding food for this reason is completely unnecessary.
So if these are all the steps leading up to food wastage, what are the effects that ensue? Not only is it a colossal waste of water and energy to grow food that will end up in the trash can, but uneaten food sitting in landfills produces methane, which is a greenhouse gas 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And what's worse is that the more food we waste, the more food we have to buy. Deforestation, especially that of the rainforests in South America, has always been subject to much controversy, but it will continue as long as we insist on overproducing food.
The last effect of food wastage is perhaps the worst. Food is a global phenomenon. When we in the West waste food, we create a higher demand for that product. When there's a higher demand for that product, there's less supply of it, and having a limited supply drives prices up.
As a result, when the food is put out on the global market, it is immediately snatched up by the richer countries that can outbid the poorer ones. Therefore, less affluent countries are either forced to look elsewhere for their food or pay the heightened price and then sell it to the local markets for an equally increased cost, which the local customers can't afford to pay. So, buying food and then throwing it away is the equivalent of taking it off the world market and out of the mouths of the starving.
So how can we solve food wastage? While there isn't much we can do about the bad farming equipment in developing countries, there are steps that we as Americans can do every day to help solve food wastage. The first thing that we can do is talk to our local supermarkets. We can advise them to minimize their waste and donate their extras to food charities instead of throwing it away.
One of the most effective solutions to solving food waste is to grow your own food, but unfortunately this isn't a feasible option for many. If you're reliant on the supermarket, create a shopping list. Buy only what you need for that week and save and freeze whatever leftovers you have. If you go to a restaurant, share meals or ask for a to-go box when you're done. And at home, if you have produce that you've finished eating, put it in a compost pile. Overall, just be aware of how much food you're buying compared to how much food you actually need.
If we were to save just 5% of the food that we wasted here in the U.S., we could bring the 9.6 million Americans suffering from hunger out of their starvation.
Treat food with the respect it deserves and buy only what you need but eat everything you buy. And most importantly, love food and hate waste. Thank you.
Thank you.